Good afternoon from Rome and good morning in the United States, and welcome back to Rome Dispatch. This is day 4 of the Seda Vacante, the vacancy of Peter, and it was an important day here for all the cardinals assembling for the eventual conclave because they met in their first congregation this morning. The cardinal electors, most of whom are here, and the cardinal non-electors, those over the age of 80. And they basically took care of some business. You have the Cardinal Camerlengo, Tarciso Bertoni, who's taking care of some business, the Dean of the College of Cardinals, Cardinal Angelo Sodano, taking care of other business. There was kind of a roll call this morning. The cardinals had to say their oath. They say it as a group, and then each cardinal goes up to the desk, which you're going to see in a minute in one of our videos. The cardinals go up to a desk, place their hand on the Bible, and individually say a shorter version, personal oath. So of the business today, most of it was relatively unimportant. We do have some numbers. There were 142 cardinals present of the 207 in the College of Cardinals. And of those, 103 are electors, so there were 12 cardinals on their way to Rome as we speak, who will be arriving today or tomorrow morning. So nothing earth-shattering yet. Obviously, no date of an announcement of when the conclave will begin. You'll get that right away as soon as we know it. But now I want to introduce you to our guest on the set today, but a fellow employee, a radio colleague at EWTN, Elena Rodriguez. Welcome to Rome.
Thank you very much, Joan. I am so blessed to be here and be working with you face to face. We always work microphone to microphone along many distances, many kilometers away, many miles away, but now we're face to face.
Well, here we are, and we've met, of course, obviously, when I've made various trips to Birmingham, but it's always fun when you work, as I do, alone, basically, in an office, and you've got your hundreds of colleagues in Birmingham. It's always fun to meet people face to face, to know the people that help you out with technical problems and so forth. But is this your first time to Rome? I forgot to ask you that.
Oh, this is my third time to Rome. I was here for the Jubilee year, 2000, and I saw the Pope John Paul II, Pope John Paul the Great, opening the Holy Door on December 24th at 11:20 p.m. on 1999, inside St. Peter's Basilica. Very blessed to be there with my mom, my dad, and my brother, and also saw Pope John Paul II the Great ringing in the year 2000, St. Peter's Square.
So a momentous moment for you, that one, and also this. Here we are entering, we are in the Seda Vacante, about to have a conclave to elect the successor of a pope who is still alive. So what is this all like for you, being here? And
for me, it's very special. It brings me to tears. And when I first shared this news with my family, it brought them to tears as well. Sure. We are very united, even though we're in different continents. And this is different, and I'm very happy to be able to live a time where we can actually bid our Pope farewell while he's still alive and he can wave back at us. That is very different and unique in history.
It is, and I know that one of the questions asked at the press conference this morning was, did the fact that Benedict is present in the sense of physically still with us, though at Castel Gandolfo, did this weigh on the cardinals at all? And Father Lombardi, who did have to, like the cardinals, take the oath of office, even though he's reporting to us from these congregation meetings, there'll be another one this afternoon, Father Lombardi can't give us certain of the details. He can present an overall picture, give some of the technical things, but he did say that Cardinal Sodano, a former Secretary of State, did suggest writing a letter from all of the cardinals to Benedict XVI, as he's now called, Pope Emeritus. So they have to be aware of it. Every man in that room is either named by Benedict or possibly by his predecessor, John Paul. The fact that we have not buried a pope is obviously that he's still alive and with us, thank the Lord, is a very important moment for all of us. Now, I know we've got, in just a few seconds, we're going to have some video from the first congregation today. The cameras were out in force, the secular media trying to catch their cardinal from their country.
I saw a lot of that today.
Yes, exactly. And what we're going to see, and I think will be interesting for our readers, is the setup of the hall. This is the Synod Hall within the Paul VI Hall building where audiences are held. And it's like a great big hall, a lecture hall in a very big university. So you'll see kind of an amphitheater shaped, and the cardinals are seated in a specific order, by the way, and they're asked to retain that seat. So if the one next to you is Cardinal so-and-so from whatever, and he's not there after the coffee break, then, you know, so they're all asked to keep their same seat, and they are seated in order of precedence, as they call it. You have your cardinal bishops, you have your cardinal priest, and your cardinal deacons.
The College of Cardinals.
The College of Cardinals. So if we have that film from this morning, we can roll that film and see if you can spot your archbishop. As you can see, the cardinals do spend a lot of time when there's no formal proceedings. They do spend a lot of time talking to each other. You may go into conclave, into congregation as a cardinal wanting to know more about other cardinals. So you talk directly to them. You may ask somebody what they know of XYZ, a cardinal. And in that image, the cardinals are given a file, actually, a folder containing quite a bit of information, one of which is a copy of the apostolic constitution that determines the procedures for the congregations. They're very specific.
There is a lot of protocol going on with this. It's very well organized,
yes.
And it's the history of how a conclave is conducted going back to the 1100s. So again, the tradition of the church weighs heavily on this. It's not something that was put together in the last few days.
Well, you know, years ago somebody told me at Vatican Radio that when the Vatican travels to different countries to do the groundwork for a papal trip, the officials of that country are always very happy to see the Vatican, because they said almost all the time, you have the same officials in place for many, many years. So they know the person, they know how to deal with that personality, they know who's businesslike and who might be, well, less businesslike, but anyway, a lot of fun. So it is interesting because of what you said, the protocol, the procedures. It's written down and carefully executed.
And they have all this experience in imagining scenarios. And therefore, well, you just mentioned the papal visits, the people who help write the speeches for the Pope of the time can imagine what it is going to be like. If there's going to be a lot of young people, there's going to be a lot of interaction with the Holy Father. And likewise, we see that here.
And actually what we are talking about right now is mirrored in that book we just saw on the screen. That kind of shows them the procedures and the rites, and they will pray. This is the cardinal who is explaining the day's procedure, even though it will be on paper, that they will meet and discuss, that there will be a 30-minute, it's supposed to be 15, but it was 30-minute coffee break. And then after that coffee break, 13 cardinals did talk. Now that's not something Father Lombardi can tell the press. He can say 13 spoke, but not what about. So they are just learning all the ropes like the rest of us. And of the cardinals in conclave, I believe it's 66 or 67, those who will actually go into conclave beyond the congregations that Benedict did name in his 8 years as Pope. So
I was blessed enough to be in a news conference, a news briefing at the North American College earlier this afternoon, where Cardinal Wuerl, Donald Wuerl of Washington, D.C., and Cardinal Robert George of Chicago were explaining to the media where Francis George, yes, thank you, were explaining to the press what the procedures are and what they can discuss and what they cannot discuss. So there is a vote of confidence.
Sure.
You have to keep it confidential. You have sworn into this, but they were also highlighting the times of prayer. It's a very prayerful conclave.
That came up in a meeting I did have with Cardinal George, whom I've known for many years, and now I know we do have a wonderful interview on tape of Cardinal Donald Wuerl of Washington, so we may want to start that tape right now, and there's 6 questions that were asked of him at the press conference.
There are a couple really warm and fond memories. When the Holy Father came to the United States, his first stop was Washington. And I will always cherish the memory of the Mass we had at Nationals Park. Filled 50,000 people, and it was the face of the world. Every ethnic group represented there. And the Holy Father standing before that cheering crowd and just with his arms outstretched, trying to embrace all of us. The thing I will remember so warmly about that is after the Mass was over, and you remember now, there was something extraordinarily beautiful about this Mass. There was music representing the whole church, and there was the silence during the canon of the Mass. When we got back to the nunciature where the Pope was staying, and all of us were invited into lunch with him, he said, and this is what I will always remember, he said to everybody there, that Mass was a true prayer. So I'll always remember that beautiful moment.
You can tell that was an answer to the question about his fondest memory of Pope Benedict XVI's 2008 visit to the United States. And now the Cardinal was also asked, how do you feel about the days that are coming ahead?
Well, these are very exciting times. It's also a very, very historic moment in the life of the Church. It's been a long time since we've had a Pope who has resigned, but I think our focus now has to be on 2 things. Thanking God for the ministry of Pope Benedict, a wonderful gift that he gave to the Church, and then looking to the future, because it's the work, the role of the office of Peter to continue to be the rock for our faith, the touchstone for our faith. And so we look now to the next step, the election of a successor.
It's always wonderful to have their insight into these and their feelings. And now another question Cardinal Wuerl was asked was, what does a typical conclave look like?
Most of it is focused on prayer. There's a silence that pervades the entire conclave, particularly the Sistine Chapel, but the focus is on prayer, being open to the Holy Spirit, and then of course the actual voting.
What a burden that must be, and also a joy to be able to vote. Now, he talked about prayer. He was also asked, how do you preserve your interior life?
I think that's a very important question. How do you sustain that serenity of spirit? I think that's why the whole idea of the conclave is quiet. It's like going on a very, very strong, heavy retreat. Heavy in the sense of leaving aside everything else, but this time the retreat master is the Holy Spirit. So I will be, and I'm sure it'll be the same for all the cardinals there, will be taking this time of quiet simply to open our hearts to that voice of the Spirit.
So quiet and retreat, very, very interesting. Now, the next question Cardinal Wuerl was asked was, what is the biggest challenge for the next Pope?
I think that challenge is probably going to take place at 2 different levels. One is external, and that is the great secularism that is just pervading the church and prevailing all around us. That secularism brings a sense of urgency that we need to be re-proposing the gospel. But there's another element, and that is our need, the need of the next Pope to be able to reach through all the means of communication today, especially the means of social communication, television, to be present all over the world. Maybe not physically. It may be too much to expect that a pope would be traveling all over the world, because remember, he has a whole church universal to oversee. But he can certainly be present electronically today. And I think that's going to be one of the great challenges and an opportunity for the future.
A very interesting observation we can return to. Now, the last question asked of Cardinal Wuerl was, what would you tell EWTN viewers who are following all these days of activities in Rome?
Well, I would say to the EWTN viewers, the most important thing they can do is pray. We truly believe that it's the Holy Spirit that guides the Church. And we know the Holy Spirit responds to prayers. And so I would ask everyone to turn their attention to prayer, asking God to send down the Spirit on the cardinals as they gather. The expectation of all of us should be that out of this conclave will come, by God's providential plan, the Pope who will guide us well into the future.
Amazing, wonderful answers from a man who knows how to pray. I've known Donald Wuerl, Cardinal Donald Wuerl, for many years, that he asked for prayers. Elena, I don't know about you, but this is what all of the cardinals that I've talked to have said, that they want prayers from us. Any other observations that you'd like to make on his
Well, I just
comments?
got my marching orders as a faithful. Prayer, prayer, prayer. That's our mission right now as viewers, as listeners, listening around the world, viewing around the world through EWTN. We want to know what's happening next. We want to know minute by minute. And that is good to be informed. But our main mission as faithful around the world is to pray. Offer Holy Mass, go to Eucharistic adoration, offer up a rosary, gather together with people from our parishes.
Right.
Because we have a role in electing the next Pope, in the sense that we can pray for the Holy Spirit to come openly over the cardinals who have this great responsibility. Maybe some of us, if we were put under that kind of pressure, we would say, oh no, I don't want that.
Yes.
Yes, let somebody else take the lead. Let somebody else take that role. I would get nervous.
And they're not in a position to do that either. So you can't relinquish this very, very heavy duty. And I was struck very much by his remarks on secularism, because that's something that has been brought out by the bishops, certainly in America, by the cardinals and bishops, and in Europe, the rampant secularism. And you know, Benedict, Pope Emeritus, spoke at great length about this secularism. And don't be afraid to profess your religion. Don't be afraid to be a Christian. I remember hearing years ago someone said, if I am brought to court and convicted and accused of being a Christian, will there be enough evidence to convict me? Which, when you think about it, yes, I think I thought about it for days after that. But one other thing he mentioned, two words really almost back to back, was the quiet. They're going to need quiet time, and it's almost like a retreat. In fact, there will be this afternoon in the congregation, Father Raniero Cantalamessa is going to preach a meditation. And he's the preacher of the papal household. He's a Capuchin and does amazing things as words. So, well, now all of a sudden time flies, doesn't it? And we have another wonderful video interview to offer our viewers, and it's with Monsignor Keith Newton. He is the ordinary of the Ordinariate of Our Lady of Walsingham in the UK, the first ordinariate that was created in response to the request of Anglicans who wanted to come into the Catholic Church en masse. So he was in Rome these days, his trip planned long before he knew of the Pope's resignation. So let's hear what Monsignor Keith Newton has to say.
Could you tell us what Pope Benedict has meant for you and for the Ordinariate?
Well, I suppose very simply he's changed my life, really. And because of the Apostolic Constitution, which was published in 2009, my life has just changed. I mean, I became a Catholic because of that. and my family as well. And it's meant that I'm now in communion with the full communion with the Catholic Church, and that's been an incredible blessing to me and to those who came with us.
And what would you say his legacy is for his papacy?
Oh, I think people will look back that one of his greatest legacies is teaching, I think, is the clarity of his thought. I think also that he's been a pope of surprises, that he's produced a number of things that nobody really expected. I think Angelorum Chaetibus is one of them, but I think there have been others. I mean, the way he's helped the liturgy to improve, I think that's an ongoing issue, and I'm sure that that will continue. Summum Pontificum, I think, is also an important part of his vision of the Church, that actually you can be in communion with each other but have different traditions. So I think the Ordinariate and the Extraordinary Form are all part of one vision, really.
Wonderful. Could you tell me what you think some of the needs are for the Anglican Church, for the Ordinariate, and for the Church as a whole that you would like to see the next Pope be able to address?
Well, I suppose I'd want to see him just build on what Pope Benedict has done, really. To continue to improve liturgical celebrations and to emphasise the importance of that. I mean, I think liturgy is improving, but there are parts which I've experienced in England where it's very poor, really. So I hope that will be built up. I hope the whole emphasis upon catechesis will also continue, because I think there are many Catholics for whom, since the 60s and 70s, have had little real catechesis and are not really sure of what they believe. So I hope the new Pope will emphasise that too. I suspect the new Pope will have to do something about making the Curia more streamlined, I suspect, which may be something that Pope Benedict has not addressed. I don't know.
And finally, could you just tell us about your pilgrimage to here and then to Assisi?
Yeah, it just so happens that I'm in Rome at the moment. I didn't come here particularly for Pope Benedict's last audience, but we just happened to be here because we've had a pilgrimage organised for 9 months or so, and the pilgrims arrived last night, and we're going on to Assisi on Friday morning. But we'll be here for the audience tomorrow, and on Thursday morning we're going to have Mass in St. Peter's, the Pope's last day, and Archbishop Muller is going to celebrate it for us, the prefect of the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith. So it'll be a really incredible time.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You know, Elena, I don't know about you, but I think that Monsignor Newton just summed up what the cardinals are going to want in the successor of Benedict XVI. He said to build on what Benedict XVI has done and read and started. He said there should be emphasis on the liturgy, and that was Benedict's emphasis for sure throughout his pontificate. Monsignor Newton spoke about the need for catechesis and how many people need to be re-catechized who might have grown up in the church, fallen away, become disinterested. And then the top item on many cardinals' agenda is the streamlining of the Roman Curia. It sounds like an agenda for a new pontiff. What do you think?
Definitely. It's a full-time job and a great responsibility. I particularly like to hear about the liturgy and the respect to liturgy. And going back to our tradition, the magisterium of the church, you're building up on 2,000 years. This is not an organization that was created just a few centuries ago.
Exactly.
And so building up on the tradition, and again, that ties in so well with catechism, so that we all understand why liturgy is the way it is. And we have a leader who confirms us in the faith, our Holy Father. And so all of that ties in. You think about all the people around the world who are probably just watching, even if just for curiosity, what is going on in Rome and the Vatican these days. And what a wonderful opportunity it is for them to reach into their faith, even if it's just for curiosity. What is it that we believe? Why we believe it?
And you know, just to go back to liturgy for a second, when the Ordinariate was created for the Anglicans coming, the priests, the bishops, because Monsignor Newton himself was an Anglican bishop, so the priests, the bishops, the lay faithful, one of the things that they asked Rome to retain was a lot of their very good, centuries-old Anglican, some of their liturgy. And of course, where anything did not clash with clash with the Catholic Church or beliefs, yes, they could keep it. So liturgy was very important for them, and I think you could see that in Monsignor Newton's reply. But what a joy. We met actually outside of a restaurant one night, their first night here. I had spoken to the group before in Rome a year ago when they were here. And so it was wonderful to see them and the joy on their face, because Benedict became their pope when they came into the ordinariate. Now they are here at a time when his successor is being elected. So you could hear it in his voice, I think, very emotional days for them as well. And for all of us. And you know, you mentioned you hope that people would be tuning in, perhaps even just out of curiosity, to television, even to radio, and all of the social media that, as a matter of fact, Cardinal Wuerl mentioned in his talk. But now we're hoping they tune in to EWTN, obviously, that they accidentally find us on the dial if they don't already know us. And
yes, we do.
I think you have something to say at this point, some of the upcoming, something about our upcoming programs and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, radio is hosting a radio exclusive coverage of the papal conclave from Rome, and Tom Price, who is director of programming and operations and production of EWTN Global Catholic Radio, will be hosting from Birmingham our show at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time. And I will be here in Rome, so we will be going back and forth reviewing all that has happened every day. We'll start Thursday, March the 7th, and we'll be every day, every weekday, Sunday, Saturday, every single day, we'll be here updating our radio listeners. And again, this will be radio exclusive only.
And I think that one of our television advertisements says EWTN is everywhere.
Everywhere.
And that's exactly where we want it to be, because we have Spanish, we have English, we have German, we have the radio and the television in those languages. So
truly a global network.
Our package is quite a big package.
Yes. And later today you can catch an encore presentation of Rome Dispatch and other special programming. Just go to EWTN.com and check the program schedule in your area. And we'll continue to bring you Rome Dispatch with Joan Lewis in the days to come to keep you up to date. Looking ahead to our special presentations on Wednesday, March the 6th, you'll see a special Rome edition of EWTN Live at its usual time, followed on Thursday by special editions of the World Over Live and Life on the Rock as well. Then on Friday, March 8th, our coverage will expand to more daily live programming from Vatican City, beginning at 9 in the morning Eastern Time. EWTN Vatican Daily with Colleen Carroll Campbell offers in-depth analysis and perspective on the day's events. And at 2 p.m. Eastern, Raymond Arroyo and guest experts bring you all that's happening in the Eternal City with Live from the Vatican. And on radio, look for Tom Price hosting our daily program, EWTN Radio Live from the Eternal City. And you can make EWTN your everywhere source from the latest interregnum and conclave coverage news available. Follow EWTN on Twitter, just EWTN, and check out more breaking news and commentary from the National Catholic Register on ncregister.com. And whether it's TV, radio, streaming on the web with EWTN.com, Roku, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or checking us out on Facebook, remember, EWTN is everywhere. And just in time for the interregnum and the conclave, download our free EWTN app to watch us on iPad or iPhone. Plus, the Android version will be coming soon, so be on the lookout for that. Please remember to keep us between your gas and electric bills. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another edition of Rome Dispatch at 10 a.m. Eastern, and that's 1600 Rome time. See you tomorrow from the Eternal City. Joan Lewis, Elena Rodriguez, blessed to be with you on this historic occasion.